Picture the most dangerous neighborhood on Earth. No walls, no weapons, no fire, not yet. Just open grassland that stretches forever, under sky bright with stars. And somewhere in the dark, lions, hyenas, saber-toothed cats, and every predator evolution ever invented, all of them hungry. Now picture you're 5 feet tall, 70 pounds, and your biggest advantage over everything trying to eat you tonight is a rock. Not a gun, not a spear, a rock. But here's the thing, it's not just any rock, because you figured something out that no creature in the history of life on this planet had ever figured out before. You figured out how to make it sharp. We're going to call her Kesi. That's not her real name, of course. Homo habilis, which means handy human in Latin, didn't have language the way we do. Probably not. But Kesi is as good a name as any for the young female we're going to follow today. And what happens to her in the next 24 hours will echo across 2.5 million years. Kesi wakes before sunrise. She's about 16 years old, which in Homo habilis terms makes her a full adult. Her brain is roughly half the size of yours. But don't let that fool you. It's enormous compared to anything else alive in Africa in 2.6 million BC. It's a brain that can plan ahead, that can remember, that can watch, copy, and improve. She is, in every meaningful sense, one of the first humans. She sleeps in a tree or near one. The group of 12 individuals she travels with doesn't build shelters. Not yet. Shelter is a tree with a fork high enough that a leopard can't reach while you sleep. She wakes with dew on her skin and the immediate, pressing knowledge that yesterday the group found a zebra carcass 3 miles east. That carcass is the whole plan for today, but they're not the only ones who found it. Here is something that paleoanthropologists have pieced together from bones and stone and time. Homo habilis was not a hunter, not primarily. What Kesi and her group are is something stranger and more dangerous. They are scavengers who scavenge from predators. They steal from lions. Think about that for a second. You weigh 70 pounds. The lion weighs 400. And your strategy is to wait until it eats its fill, then run in, yes, run toward the lion, grab as much meat as you can carry, and run back out. This sounds insane, but it works, mostly. The key is numbers, noise, and speed. Homo habilis groups would approach a carcass screaming and throwing things, exploiting the window when the lion is full and sleepy and not quite motivated enough to defend yesterday's kill. It's terrifying, and it works often enough that the species survived for almost 1 million years doing it. But today, something is different. Today, the carcass is surrounded by hyenas, not 1 or 2. A clan of 30. Hyenas are not full and sleepy. Hyenas are never full and sleepy. They are perpetual eating machines with jaws strong enough to crush bone like chalk. And there are 30 of them on the carcass that Kesi's group has been planning to reach since yesterday. The group stops at the tree line, watches, waits. This is where the tool comes in. What Kesi carries at her hip, tucked into a fold of rough animal hide, is an Oldowan tool, named after this very gorge in Tanzania where Louis and Mary Leakey first found them in the 1930s. Oldowan tools are the oldest confirmed human technology on Earth. They look simple, a rounded stone, usually volcanic basalt or quartzite, with flakes knocked off one edge to create a sharp surface. That's it. No handle, no polish, just a rock with intention. But what they can do changes everything. With an Oldowan chopper, you can cut through hide that would blunt your teeth and break your fingernails. You can access marrow, the fat-rich, nutrient-dense center of bones, that no other animal on the savanna can reach without cracking the whole bone, which requires the jaw strength of a hyena. You can deflesh a carcass in minutes. The tool is not a weapon, really. Not at this stage. It's a butcher's tool, a survival shortcut. And Kesi knows how to make one. She learned by watching, by copying, by practice. She's watched the elder males in her group, the ones with the nimblest fingers and the best eye for stone, knock flakes from a coarse stone with a hammerstone. She's tried it herself, failed, tried again. The learning curve is brutal. The flakes are razor sharp, and a slip means a deep cut to your hand, but she can do it now. Clumsily, slower than the best in the group, but she can do it. And today, watching the hyenas pick the carcass clean in the distance, she has a different idea. She doesn't try to get to the zebra carcass. She leads 3 younger members of the group in the opposite direction, north, toward the dry riverbed, where she saw something 2 days ago, a dead antelope hidden in a crevice, small, already old. Not enough to have attracted lions, not enough to have attracted hyenas, but enough with a sharp tool and quick hands to get through a day. The group finds it. Kesi works fast, her chopper scraping meat from bone with practiced efficiency. The smell is appalling, nobody cares. They eat quickly, watching every shadow. They carry what they can, they move, they survive. Here's what we know from the actual record. Old down tools appear in the fossil record at approximately 2.6 million years ago, with the earliest confirmed examples found in Ethiopia at Gona and across the East African Rift Valley. They're found alongside the bones of Homo habilis, and sometimes alongside cut-marked animal bones that show clear signs of intentional butchery. This is the direct physical evidence of what Kesi and her kind were doing. What's remarkable is not just that they made tools, it's that they made them consistently, repeatedly, and passed the knowledge on. That's culture. That's one of the defining marks of humanity. The ability to take a good idea and share it across generations. The brain of Homo habilis, around 600 to 700 cc. Yours is about 1,400 cc, shows expansion particularly in Broca's area, the region associated with language and complex movement. They may not have had full spoken language, but they had something. Calls, gestures, demonstrations, enough to teach, enough to learn. They lived in this gorge for hundreds of thousands of years, through droughts that turned the savanna to desert, through volcanic eruptions that buried landscapes in ash, through the rise and fall of predator species that could outrun, outbite, and outnumber them. They survived because of the rock and the brain that knew what to do with it. The sun goes down over Olduvai Gorge the same way it always has, fast and total, the African sky going from copper to purple to black in the space of 20 minutes. Kesi's group climbs the tallest trees they can find, splitting up across 3 different trees in case something comes in the night. She finds a fork high enough, wedges herself in, lets her heart beat slow. She doesn't think about the tools in any conscious, articulate way. She doesn't know she's made history. She doesn't know that in 2.5 million years, a creature with a brain twice the size of hers will dig these gorge walls and find the stones she knapped and call them the beginning of everything. She just knows today worked. The little antelope filled the gap. The group is together. Everyone made it. Tomorrow, same gorge, same game, different stones. She sleeps. Homo habilis walked the earth for nearly 1 million years, from roughly 2.4 million to 1.4 million years ago. They weren't the biggest, the fastest, or the most ferocious things on the African savanna, but they were, as their name says, handy, resourceful, clever in that particularly human way of looking at the world and thinking, there has to be a better way to do this. Their tools evolved over generations. Their descendants would eventually control fire, make clothes, cross oceans, and build cities. But it started here, in this gorge, with a rock and a good idea. Next episode, we follow Homo erectus out of Africa, across a landscape of desert, mountain, and sea on the first great human migration. 1.5 million years ago, the journey that changed everything. Subscribe so you don't miss it. And if today's story is different, leave a comment. I read everyone.